to the Gifted Healers Conversations, where we talk to amazing healers that are graduates of the Flow Method and Body Decode method. My certification, practitioner certifications that I have some of the most incredible people who come into my world through those certifications. And today is a perfect example of one of those people. Today, we're going to be talking to Rachel Mack, who has probably one of the biggest breadths of experience, I guess, life experience in life that you will ever hear about. And also has been like doing a lot of healing of the body work, things like that for almost 17 years. So she's very intuitive in understanding and knowing the body. She now is specializing in something that she knows quite well, which is fibromyalgia. So if you have fibromyalgia, if you've been dealing with it, you know how exhausting it is. You know the pain, you know the pressure, you know that it's not well understood. And today we're going to take a look at it through the lens of really decoding what is your body telling you when you're dealing with fibromyalgia? What kinds of things are you being told that maybe aren't even true? And how can you get to the other side of it by listening to the wisdom of your body? So let me say hello to Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, how are you?
So far, so good. Just took us a second to get our system going, but we're in good shape now. Um, well, I'm so happy to see you. I think one of the things I would love for you to tell people about is your own journey, because I know that, you had this, you really had fibromyalgia, you have dealt with fibromyalgia, you have had to go to doctors and try to decipher what's going on. So talk to us about, when did that start? What did that look like for you?
Sure. That came about in 2015. I had incredible pain come over my body, in particularly my legs. And I had difficulty with walking. It would cramp up, for lack of a better explanation, but it would seize and I would not be able to put any weight on my leg. And it was very painful. Uh, I tried to hide it as best I could, but it was excruciating. Anything with the slightest grade uh, in on the ground or floor or whatever would cause great pain. And that pain then led to me not sleeping well. And then not sleeping well meant I'm not recovering well. And so it's kind of a vicious cycle with fibromyalgia. I knew it was fibromyalgia because I've worked with massage clients for a long time.
Right.
And I've seen them come on to my table and we've discussed what that's like for them.
Wow.
I've
Okay.
also had a parent who developed fibromyalgia as well. And I worked with my mother for a year as her massage therapist to help her overcome what she was dealing with on a pain level. So I recognized it.
Sure. So from a massage standpoint, when you saw clients on your table that had fibromyalgia, what were you often noticing from that standpoint?
Uh, at the time, a massage therapist is scope of practice is really just muscle manipulation. Anything beyond that is more of an internal conversation with myself than not so much the client.
Sure.
But I started picking up on, it seemed like the body was trying to talk to the client. It wasn't necessarily a byproduct of something. It was acting in a way that it was a problem within the body, but I did not feel that it was
Yeah.
the source of the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like a tumor would be
Yeah.
something that grows and develops within the body, and then you're trying to deal with it.
Yeah.
Fibromyalgia felt different to me when working on clients. And I
Did you?
know, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, no, no. Go ahead.
No, I just noticed that most of the time there's a lot of restrictions in the rib cage and diaphragm areas. So I know that
Interesting.
they weren't taking in good breath. Um, I knew that they were tense. Um, a massage table often becomes like a confessional for some people.
Sure.
And
Well,
so
sure.
I would listen and I would hear stories that lined up similarly.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, women, although this isn't a disorder just primarily
Right.
for women, I have men who've been on my table who've been diagnosed with fibro.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I noticed that they would have this have too much on their plate, to be quite honest.
Sure.
Too many responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
and trying their best to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever they could.
Yeah, very much so. So talk to me about like what are some of the most common symptoms you've seen? Because you've worked with quite a few people with fibromyalgia, you've dealt with it yourself. What kinds of things are you seeing?
I think it's probably better to just kind of I can say that, but preface it by saying knowing what the disorder is kind of then sheds light on what how it manifests.
Yeah, so
So
talk
what
to me
they've
about
been
that.
able
Yeah.
so it's a nervous system breakdown in communication.
Mm-hmm.
So the central nervous system can no longer handle all of the sirens from other places in your body that are
Mm-hmm.
going off. And
Mm-hmm.
somehow the central nervous system and its wisdom of trying to take care of all of it starts sounding the alarm for everything.
Sure.
It's a feedback loop that can't shut itself off. So it's
Yeah.
very neurologically uh, a neurological issue more than it is muscle issue.
Right.
It's your body is not neurologically regulated anymore. It
Yeah.
thinks constant fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah, it's blown out. It's the
Yeah.
alarm system, right, is blown out.
Yeah.
So with,
So
yeah, go ahead.
so therefore it will represent differently in everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why initially the medical profession said, I don't really know what fibromyalgia is, but we'll just call it fibromyalgia.
Right. It's kind of a catch-all a lot of times, like chronic fatigue.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't know what it is. We're gonna call it this, right? Yeah.
Correct. But just like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia had become real
Mm-hmm.
to the medical
Right.
profession.
Right.
It's antiquated thinking to think it's a blanket diagnosis for what they can't figure out.
Right.
That's not true anymore. And that's in fact one of
Right.
the myths I have.
Yeah.
But it's a real thing. And the problem is depending on what your neurological situation is, it's going to represent differently in
Right.
everybody.
Right. Right.
So that's where it gets a little crazy because the medical professions used to taking care of what's yelling in your body
Sure.
rather than the root always.
Sure.
So if you can't quite get to the root, but you're saying, well, my arm hurts or my leg hurts or I hurt everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're not sure how to go about treating that
Right.
specifically.
Right. Right. It's extremely complicated. I know that in people that I've seen with fibromyalgia, a lot of times there's this almost feeling like they're for me, a lot of times being pulled apart at the seams. It's this almost ripping or tearing feeling or this constant pull type of feeling that's really sore. And are you seeing like when you work with people, are you seeing that relationship too, maybe in their lives being pulled apart at the seams too often and too much going on?
Oh, absolutely. There's that component. And in fact, that's why I started even before coming to you as a
Yes.
student and becoming certified.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of believe that it was uh, a person's inability to put themselves first for anything. That's what I was kept hearing again and again in the stories of my clients and even my
Mhm.
own family. Like I said, my mother, and then myself,
Sure.
just constantly, uh, I I've read plenty of material on it as well. It is oftentimes stemming from childhood, and over responsibility,
Hmm.
and sometimes there's trauma involved with that.
Mhm.
which is why the pulling sensation is there. It's like PTSD is, you can
Mhm.
fight it, flee, or
Yeah.
freeze.
Yeah.
And a study was done on that situation. And I found that the study was really interesting. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it anymore. I read it a couple years ago, but
Yeah.
it
If we
stuck
can
with
find it,
me.
we'll link it below. So go ahead.
Right,
Yep.
absolutely. Um, but what it was is this school bus got taken over in California, and they buried the bus with a couple adults and all the children.
Oh.
And then we're then um, calling the police and ransoming the situation, right? But
Oh.
but it was a perfect, as gruesome as that story is, and there were people, scientists who used that situation later to see how people responded under crisis that way. So what they had learned is if you were the ones who were active in responding, so in other words, even though they weren't fleeing, they were actively using their body in the middle of a crisis to resolve the situation.
Mhm.
They had the least amount of PTSD and trauma and medical issues
Mm.
after that.
Makes
It's
sense.
it's when you freeze or flee that you end up storing that in your body
Yeah.
and then needing to process that out later.
Yeah.
Which the body is super intelligent that way, as you
It
know.
is. Yeah.
It's the record keeper and it's very literal.
It's very literal, but that said,
Mhm.
and Rachel, may I just say you've just unlocked like a seventh level of hell nightmare for me now as a mom.
I'm so sorry. Oh no. This was years ago. It was the
No, no, no.
70s or
I'm just
something.
just kidding. She takes a lot of field trips. I'm like, Um, no, she's fine. She's fine.
No. She's
Just as a
got the
mom,
best
I was like, oh
parents.
my God, that's so horrible. My God.
Everybody came out of that fine.
Okay, great, great, great,
End of
great.
that
Positive
story.
ending.
Positive ending. There were no deaths.
Scary, terrible. I mean, who even thinks to do something that insane? Anyways, we aren't going to go into that because that's craziness. But anyways, but that is really interesting. So basically, if and I wonder how that translates. If we think about like parentified kids, right, that end up being the ones who are taking the action, do they process it better? Do you think they maybe have less or than the kids that maybe froze? I mean, and then there's fawning now, right? Which is just
Yeah.
like that, right? Okay. So what do you think? I mean, that's an interesting.
I don't know because when you're speaking of children need adults in order to survive.
Right.
So even if a child is parentified and actively assisting in the parentification of their
Right.
life circumstance, it's still beyond their emotional bandwidth
Yeah.
to navigate.
And they don't have control. Like they may
Zero
think,
control,
right.
and they're in survival mode because they're like, I have to do this.
Right.
That's my
Right.
parent. If
Right.
I want to eat, if I want to live, I got to do what they
Mm,
say. So I think that can be very scarring depending on
yeah.
I don't think it's everybody, but I think it's a
I think
lot
it's
more
not.
than
I
not.
think it's most. I do think it's just from our work, right? I think it's
Right.
most. If I think
Yes.
about the number of people who've come to see me that were put in very parentified situations. And for those out there that haven't, parentification is when a child is basically taking on an adult role in the household and in the family when they are kids, being the emotional caretaker for the parent, having to be the one taking care of all the kids, having to be kind of the adult in the situation, right? And it's an out of order. The kid, as
Correct.
Rachel, you were just saying, like as kids, we need adults to protect us. They are supposed to be the ones that are sort of running everything and then helping us survive. And then when that gets flipped, it can be, I think it results a lot in people that are very hyper vigilant, adults that are take responsibility. And I think that does feed, and probably you've seen that in the people you've worked with fibromyalgia, into this development in this particular disease, right? This over vigilance, this over functioning.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I see it in myself. I mean, the great thing about going through your certification is, you heal yourself. So, whether
True.
you want to or not.
That is true. We were just talking about that on the certification call today, that like it actually, the good thing is, because somebody on the Jessica, who on the certification call, was talking about how she feels like she keeps pulling in clients that are so much like her. And I said, yeah, that's going to happen. I think you're pulling in clients, right, that are very much like you. I pull in clients that are very much like me. But
Absolutely.
but the key is that because of the way that we work through the certification, I'm very focused on making sure that you guys heal the stuff all the way along, because if you don't, that's when you get out there and you get a client that's like you and you project your stuff on them instead of being like, oh, I recognize the pattern and I can help the pattern, but I'm not blurging all over the pattern,
Yeah,
for lack of a better
exactly.
term. And
Yes.
so, right. And so, anyways, so I think it's very much you did do a huge amount of healing work, but I think now because of that, you can so quickly and easily articulate from real experience when you have a client that's coming to you with something similar, right? I mean,
Oh,
like a
absolutely.
parentification, right?
Oh, for sure. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through it myself. So, I mean, my parents divorced when I was young. We came from a family of four siblings.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being in sixth grade. School was out. I went downstairs, got my sister out in second grade, walked across the street to the daycare center to pick up my two little brothers. I
Wow.
had my baby brother who was 2.5 years old on my hip, and my other brother who was probably 4 or 5, and we all walked home together.
Wow.
And, I got them snacks, and it's all because my mother was trying to get her, BA and
Yeah.
provide for us better, but it meant she relied on me heavily to protect the kids.
Right.
But
Be
I was just a
responsible.
kid.
Right. Right. Who was
So,
responsible for you? Right.
correct.
Right. It's a lot.
Yes,
And
it is.
when you think of that and you think of your journey, do you feel like when you're working with people with fibromyalgia, whether you were just talking to them, let's say on the massage table, or now clients you're working with today,
Right.
do you feel like that's a common thing you're seeing with not just parentification, but just that hyper responsibility, that over responsibility, that not being able to put things down? Um,
Oh, yeah, all you have to do is go into any sort of corporate environment and look for the high achievers.
yeah, right. Yeah, true. It's true.
We are, I mean, anywhere I've worked, I've either gotten like, employees of the months or some awards, or
Yeah.
I had, in school 4.0 grade averages, like, but I didn't do it to do it for those things. It's just I didn't know how not to,
Yeah, I didn't know how not to do it.
how
Yeah.
not to be my
Yeah.
keep going. Like,
Yeah.
there's room for me to do better. I've got to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, Rachel, that's such a funny point. And I think this is so common for high achievers that do end up with things like whether it's fibromyalgia or I put chronic fatigue sort of in a similar category,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I'll tell you a story that it just reminds me so much of what you're just saying. I had many years ago, I had hired somebody to help me with some PR, and she was a friend, and she's great, lovely person. However, I was like getting her training and doing all these things and like, oh, and like thinking, okay, well, now I'm going to hand it off to her and she's going to do it. But I was still writing press releases and she was just doing like the sending the email or doing that kind of stuff. And I'm like, why is she not just like taking what the training and going for it? Like, I don't get it, right? And we went to lunch one day, and it was her and another young woman actually I was mentoring, and they were talking about how they both always knew how to get a C, to do just enough to get a C. And I remember staring at them both and being like, I don't even know. I don't I couldn't even possibly begin to understand that. Right?
So you just explained one of my work experiences. I worked for DePaul University for some years, and I was an administrative assistant or, administrator for departments. And I go to these department meetings and, there's a lot of people, no shade, if anybody from DePaul listening. I love you all. But I, there's a sort of like a relaxed vibe when you have that sort of position because
Sure.
you really have to you'd really have to screw up not to be there because you're obviously good enough
Sure.
to be there, right?
Sure. Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
but I would notice that I'm like, why are these other people not fired up and getting her done and like
Right.
just hammering it
Right.
out? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And some people were just very comfortable, to your point, getting the C. And I was like, I've
And they're
never
like
thought
good with
about
it.
and yeah, I'm like, but
Yeah.
we still have room for an A.
Like there's a B, there's a B plus, there's an A, there's an A plus.
I know.
You know, could we
And
maybe do that?
it wasn't because I desired the A. It just it meant that we had room to improve. So why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't we improve? Right? And I think that's a key. I mean, it was such a revelation for me, and it sounds like that moment for you, right? Where you're like, wait, like not everybody wants to not everybody has something inside them that's just driving
Right.
forward. And I'm not saying it's always healthy
That was
because it
my
does
first.
end up turning into chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So anybody who's like this, we're just saying this is something inside us that does get patterned.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think at some level, some of us come in this way for sure. Because I can look back and I'm sure you were the same. You look back and you think, well, I always wanted, I was always curious and I always wanted to do better. And
Yeah.
right. I was never the
Yes.
kid that was going to sit in the C's or even the B's, frankly. But then there's also the patterning that comes in, as
Yeah.
you start to grow. And then that's the stuff that can end up, whew, do you know?
Yes,
Isn't it
exactly.
wild? I mean,
Yes, it is.
there's points, Rachel. I don't know if you feel it, but there was points where I remember sitting there like at that lunch and thinking, there's part of me that's like, that would be so nice.
Yeah.
Like, right?
That was my exact same sentence in my
Like,
head. I'm like,
man,
wow, how do you just I wish I
yeah.
knew what that felt like
Like
to
this is good
downshift.
enough, It's
Yeah,
fine. Check this out. It's great. I'm gonna go
right.
get a, coffee. It's cool. Like I just,
Yeah, I envied it for a moment because it
yeah,
looked less harrowing or stressful.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. It is. It's kind of like, yeah, it's cool. That's good. It's
Yeah.
great. Right. And I don't, I mean, we both don't have that, which is fine, But the good thing is that the journey that you were on, and because of that drive, you have been through, what did we end up talking about? You like 25 different kinds of positions along the way. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah. Yes, I've had over 28 different positions over my lifetime.
Right. Which I think is incredible and just goes to the point of you constantly being willing to learn and to put yourself in new environments over and over again, where you are probably again and again getting activated to, I don't really know this. I'm going to find out as much as I can, and I'm going to try to like be the best I can possibly be at this. Um, and so I think when high achieving people come to you with fibromyalgia, whatever the environment they've been in, you're going to go, yeah, I get it. Like I've said,
Well, what I get is that it's not really they're not conscious of the fact, similar to you or myself,
Yeah.
not being conscious of the fact that we have this internal drive that's exhausting.
Yeah.
We weren't hearing the exhaustion. And what I want to say about fibro at this point then would be the problem with fibro is your inability to keep grinding as a solution to the issues.
Right. Yes.
Because I
Uh-huh.
know that I was taught if it's a challenge, keep grinding. You'll get through it. And so you kind of take that energy, and when you start seeing the things in your body happen, you go, well, I'll just keep grinding
Right.
because we'll get through this.
Right.
But fibromyalgia makes you stop.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It makes you
does.
stop.
So it is really the body finally saying, you literally cannot continue to go on this
Correct.
way. You cannot continue. So when we're seeing things like the muscle, talk to me about just, I know we talked a little bit about the symptoms,
Mhm.
but talk to me. I know muscle pain is obviously a symptom, fatigue. So do you find like doctors, when people come in with fatigue as a major symptom,
Mhm.
where do you find when you're working with people that doctors have listened to that or know what to do with that, or are they getting kind of written off and having to go to multiple doctors? And again, we are very pro medical, pro doctor,
Absolutely.
but many people do have journeys that are really important as part of especially these kinds of diseases. So talk to me about that.
I have a beloved doctor in Chicago named Dr. Edelberg, and
Hmm.
I love the man. We still have conversations from time to time. But he always said, Rachel, I want to tell the world that you need to stay out of my office for as long as you can. That's your best situation in life. And he wasn't terribly wrong. And I think it's because for as much as medical community is excellent in so many ways, and
Hmm.
specifically, I think when you actually have a problem, like, your heart's not working,
Yeah.
or you find a tumor, or
Mhm.
you get an accident and the limbs falling off, like those
Yeah.
are those
Yeah.
are things that are physically something that that they can do, and they can prescribe
Yeah.
something to
There's like,
temporarily
yeah,
mitigate your situation, right?
right.
But what I find with fibromyalgia, and I'm speaking only for myself and what I went through,
Sure.
I have, again, no shade to anybody who's finding that pharmaceuticals are their way or anything like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
I just have a very sensitive body who happens to not like man-made pharmaceuticals.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
when a doctor prescribed for me in my situation, I was prescribed Cymbalta, which
Hmm.
has some very strong side effects,
Mm,
but it
okay.
was more of an antidepressant. I was prescribed muscle relaxant,
Oh, wow. Huh. Yeah.
and I then was prescribed in case of emergency, meaning when I would have the most intense flare up where my leg would not straighten or bend,
Mm.
like and when you tried to do either, it would just, I mean, it felt, I've never felt pain like that. But
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was prescribed Valium. So
Wow.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a problem with those because taking all three sounded dangerous to me.
It does sound like it does sound like a cocktail with some
So,
interesting.
so I went to drugs.com and put all three in, and they tell you exactly what could possibly happen, where the interactions of that drug or
Mm,
those drugs combined together in your system. And I
wow.
did not like the results of that at all. Primarily
Mm.
being if I if I took them together, basically I could put myself at greater risk for a serotonin coma.
Oh my gosh.
And so
Whoa.
I'm like,
Okay.
that's not the solution I want. And if my body's already disagreeing with the pharmaceuticals in me, I would
Oh,
prefer not
yikes.
to go
Yeah,
there in
if
that
you can.
direction.
Yeah, my goodness. Wow.
So again, those
Mm.
things are, I do know that there are clients who
Yeah.
reap benefit
Yeah.
from whatever they're prescribed. And I think that that's great. But
Yep.
I think more than anything, it is my professional opinion that fibromyalgia or even chronic fatigue is living in a world where we're told not to listen to our bodies
Yeah.
at all, and that solutions are always outside of ourselves
Hmm.
and not within.
Hmm.
And so I really think disorders like fibro
Hmm.
are really a time in which you need to turn into yourself and start resting.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have a hard, I started realizing through the certification process and healing myself that I had extreme guilt having people in my house because I didn't feel like I could rest
Mm,
if there are people around me. And I'm talking, I'm presently
yeah.
divorced, but
Yeah.
when I had a husband and stuff, I felt on high alert. Like I couldn't possibly
Mm.
relax because somebody might need something.
Right. Somebody might need something. And you
So
had
I
that as a
better,
kid. You
correct,
were taking care of everybody. So of course that was coded in, right?
correct.
Wow.
So I didn't
Mm.
even realize that I couldn't even relax enough to relax.
Yeah, right. Wow.
So I really do see
Think of that high
fibro as
alert.
being
Wow.
more of a somatic or body,
Yeah.
mind, spirit
Yeah.
issue than
Mm.
actual physical disorder.
Mm.
That's
I
my
want to
opinion.
I agree. I want to get to some of the myths that you've identified, but can you tell us quickly, Rachel, because I know you worked really hard at healing. So things like your leg, when you were looking at the stuff with your leg and moving forward, what do you think was like the root of you being able to heal that? Because now at this point, your fibromyalgia is
Oh,
in remission, yes?
correct.
Okay.
But again, that kind of falls into one of the myths I do talk about. There
Yeah.
is no actual cure supposedly for fibromyalgia,
Mhm.
but you can mitigate its how it represents in your body. And I have to say that I don't take anything for it, and I'm a lot better since
Yeah.
getting to the root cause of things.
Yeah, okay. That's awesome. So talk to me about some of the myths because I know one of the myths was like a prescription drug, prescriptions will be the only thing that you can do, right, to handle it. And we've just talked about that, you know, not for everyone. And I will my husband is the same way. He is so sensitive to anything that he puts in his I'm actually pretty sensitive, but he is so sensitive to anything he puts in his body. He had a hip surgery 10 years ago or something like that. And
Mhm.
it was at the Mayo Clinic, who's terrific.
Yeah.
However, I kept trying to explain to them, no, the only thing he's ever taken for this is Advil. And they didn't tell us, and they just pumped him full of pain medicine, like a pain medicine cocktail that I literally I mean, you know me, and I'm funny.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to crack jokes to him, trying to like make him laugh, and he'd be like looking at me and then like this, and I'm like, I'm supposed to take this man home. What did they do to him? Like I didn't know. I actually didn't know. We didn't know he was on all of this stuff.
That's
And then
terrible.
it was crazy. And then and again, the Mayo Clinic, they did a great job and they did a great job with his hip. However, when the lady that was like the pain medicine person finally came in and was like signing off to me taking him home 2 days later, she was like going through all the pain medicines that he'd been on, and I was like, what? And I'm like, I think that's why he was like, I've never seen that man so out of it. He literally was like, not, I was thinking to myself, I'm supposed to try to make him walk. Like, what am I? And the second
Right.
they took everything back out and he was off the pain medicine, there was my husband again. And I thought, oh, okay,
Right.
we're gonna be okay. I don't think people really realize because I kept saying, and I told the lady at the time, as I was signing off, I said, you do know he's only ever had Advil for this. And I think they probably do have most people that come in and they've been taking like handfuls because he needed a full hip replacement. And so I think they probably have been taking like handfuls of pain medicine because it's quite painful. And he hadn't. And so, like, I think maybe it's that same kind of thing where maybe somebody like you who's walking in and is very sensitive to prescription drugs, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Talk to me about what you've really seen with being able to start to get to some of these roots, maybe in the different symptoms that you might be working at with someone.
Well, I would say that some of the more holistic practices are helpful,
Yeah.
such as, infrared saunas or essential oils. Massage definitely has a way of softening and relaxing
Yep.
the nervous system. And I'd say some vagus nerve sort of reset or exercises to
Mm,
calm the system. Those are all there. And chiropractic care too, if that's what you need. I found all of the frequency devices all of those things are very helpful, but never really fully took an edge off until I did the work through my certification and then started putting it together. So when you were
Yeah.
asking, like when it came on and it was my leg, what sort of
Yeah.
things that I look at, I mean, we're looking at station one issues, like family dynamic, work dynamic, friend
Yeah.
dynamic,
Right.
and your ability to feel safe in the world
Yeah.
and
Moving
secure.
forward. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, once I started realizing, uh, that aspect is like that sort of energy, then I started working with, how do we untangle that? How do we start releasing those things?
Right.
And your
Right.
work, the decoding method and the flow method, that's why we're here to help people
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
find their way through that.
Right.
That's when I started having no pain.
So
And
good.
by do I still have pain? Yes, there's can still be triggers. I
Sure.
noticed that I can no
Sure.
longer like participate in things that are going to give me an adrenaline rush because the downside of the adrenaline, while helpful in the moment, like winter driving, the next day, I hurt everywhere as if it's just not worth it.
Aha. That's an interesting trigger too, right? So no bungee jumping for you, I take it. No. All right.
Well, so I still have work to do with my nerve. I mean, it's still
Sure.
an ongoing process
Sure.
to work through all the things.
Yeah.
But the way I see the work through the Decode and the flow method, you can get there without all the extra stuff.
Yeah, and actually listen, right, to the wisdom of the body. So I think one of the things I
For
know
sure.
that you talk about is that, and I think you probably see this a lot. I certainly see this a lot when people come to me, that people will go seeking an answer. They will go talking to doctors and practitioners and other people, and sometimes they're told it's all in their head or that it isn't real, right?
Mhm.
So, but it is real. Fibromyalgia
That's
is a real thing. Can you speak to that? Because I think that's one of those like almost and again, I have so many friends that are doctors. I love the medical profession. They're generally wonderful people, but there is a gaslighting component sometimes to going in and constantly trying to explain that something's real and having people tell you it's not real. So can you speak to that a little bit?
sure. Well, what I can, I was listening to a podcast recently. It's called The Diary of a CEO.
Yeah.
Stephen Bartlett, I love
Uh-huh.
him.
Yep.
He had a guest on who is a medical practitioner, female, who was discussing the fact that in this day and age, which I guess surprised me, but most of the tests in medicine are still done
On men.
on men.
On men. That's
And they do
absolutely
that,
true.
and that the medical profession, and she spoke to, she didn't give a particular this exact name of where she was doing her residency, but it was a hospital somewhere in Texas where my old doctor walked by past her and said, "Yeah, we have a WW in room one for you." And she's like, "A WW?" And he's like, "Yeah, a whiny woman." And so
Whoa.
the fact that we still live in a time where we think we're taught the noise out there is that women are, equal.
Yeah.
They're not in the
No.
medical profession.
Mm.
And so we get gaslit a lot to the point of even being called a WW when
Wow.
we're coming in and we know our bodies.
Yeah.
Women are intuitive by nature,
Hmm.
in my opinion. And so I think by the time, we show up and say something's off, and then to be gaslit,
Yeah.
it's just extra salt. And
Yeah.
I've even seen other women gaslight other women
Oh, for
which
sure. Oh,
I'm just like, why? Yeah, sure, that's
yeah.
all in their head,
Yeah.
you know?
For,
Like,
Now, and Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, but fibromyalgia happens more frequently with women by kind of a
yes,
lot, right, than men. Isn't it
correct.
something like 75? It's like I'm trying to pull a figure out of my brain right now, and I will
Yeah,
verify it and put it in the caption. But is that right?
yes, that's about right.
Yeah,
It's far more prevalent in women than it is in men. That's not to say that it doesn't happen,
of
but
course.
I do know that talking with some people that uh, it's becoming something that veterans are dealing with.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. Oh, yeah, I bet.
So
Yeah.
um, there are veterans, males who are dealing with
Mm.
it.
Yeah, I bet.
Or there's you know, gay men that I know that
Sure.
have the diagnosis. I think that it depends on what the trauma was and how soon you were
Yeah.
given a responsibility you weren't ready for.
Mm.
And how,
A gut instinct on it would be, I think we're probably looking at the more sensitive, empathic people in our population that are more at risk, right? Because we do tend to feel so much more. Do you find that in your work with people with this?
yes, I would say that the women that I have worked with who have fibromyalgia, I also could intuit they were highly empathic.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just didn't know they were.
Yeah, so many of it, like people just go along and they don't know and they're picking up all this stuff and
Correct.
I've worked with people I worked with one lady who was a hospital administrator and she was so blown out and she's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And every time she walked in the hospital, she just felt all this pain. It wasn't really fibromyalgia, it was just like multiple pains all over the place. And she was an empathic person. She was an empath. And she was walking into this place where every possible emotion from the joy of birth to the suffering of death and everything in between. It's like a house of emotion she was walking into and unprotected because she just didn't know. She was just walking into it completely
Correct.
open, all her feelers open. And I mean, I think if we think about what you were talking about with fibromyalgia being real, with it being a nervous system thing, with this alarm system going off, right?
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense when you think about it. If you're not like literally, we have alarm systems to protect ourselves. But if they're just on and open all the time, you know, and you're a person who's very open, woof, right? I mean, that feels like the combination right there,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Yes, certainly.
Mm. It's interesting because I mean, I think the people, so let me ask you this, and then I want to ask another myth. So when you had people on the table that had fibromyalgia and you were working on them, how were you able? Because I mean, I think one of the things that's very unique about you, Rachel, is you have had hands-on experience with the body
Oh, yeah.
and sensing what's going on physically, what shows up physically in the body. And then you have the other side where there is the intuitive and the decoding side, right? So
Hmm.
when you were working with people on the table with fibromyalgia, what kinds of things were you noticing? Was there anything like common in the muscle knots or I don't, I'm not a massage therapist, but the fibrous nature of the muscle or any of those things?
Well, I would say it's kind of hard to describe. I don't know. You know, you've played dodgeball. We've all played dodgeball at some
Yeah,
point,
thank you.
right?
Opening up
Mm.
another nightmare memory for me,
Yeah,
but go
you're
ahead.
welcome. Yes, but we can
Uh-huh.
all imagine. We've all braced ourselves for
Uh-huh.
that ball,
Sure,
right?
uh-huh.
That
Especially when there was
is,
a little punk named Kevin throwing it at you. But all right, go ahead.
there's always a little punk named Kevin
There
somewhere.
always is, isn't there? Yeah, there's always a punk named Kevin, man. All right.
So when you're bracing like that,
Uh-huh.
that's how the body feels to the touch. The clients I have who have fibromyalgia um, have braced themselves from the impact of life.
Wow. So they're
So
literally in a braced position at all times, yes?
yeah,
They're
they're
like,
not aware that they are, but they are.
oh my goodness me. So when you're working on somebody with that and they're bracing, how do you get them to trust? How do you, in a physical way, get them to trust their muscles and their body that they're allowed to have soft touch? They're allowed to release. How does I mean, when you were working on people, and I know you're not, but just from your own wisdom of doing that, what did that look like?
That's my special sauce, dear.
Oh, okay. Never
No,
mind.
I'm
Never
teasing.
mind.
No, no, I mean, it really comes down to the practitioner needs to be in a space that isn't filled with ego for let me show you what I can do, and rather be in a place I'm open to meet you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would work on clients, the biggest thing is to listen. And then I was very artful at taking them to the edge of discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
I would mentally prepare them for that.
Right.
And then I would tell them that we're working together and that it's not my goal to make them feel terrible.
Mm.
And so I would stop just at the edge of where they were comfortable. And
Yeah.
they started trusting me. Their
Sure.
bodies started trusting me.
Sure.
And that's how
Mm.
you get
Mm-hmm.
into the body to work with that. It's not
100%.
easy. Um, it's also why I don't, I think again, I think that's why people who have fibromyalgia have it, is we live in a culture where we really truly believe that, no pain, no gain. We're
Yeah.
just gonna
Gosh,
keep
yes.
going. We're just gonna keep going
Yeah.
through it
Yeah. Grind it
all.
away. Yeah.
And that body is defensive for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to, let's say, not listen as well and, indirectly hurt you or
Mm-hmm.
to your body's mind that you've like done
Yeah.
this willfully against them,
Sure.
if the body sees you as the enemy, you might as well stop massaging that day for that person
Sure.
because that body is never going to let you back in that day.
Mm-hmm.
Once it's determined that you're not safe.
Mm.
So I'm always riding the edge of being as therapeutic as possible
Sure.
while being mindful that
Mm-hmm.
that body's always listening to me
Mm.
and how I come at them.
Well, I think that's beautiful. And I think that actually transition us beautifully to the work that you're doing now off the table. Because I think before we actually went live, we were chatting about the fact that you actually, not only do you really love the work that you're doing now with
Oh,
clients and being
yes.
able to dig in and do this, but I loved how you related it to like winter driving. Can you tell me about that again? Because I think that then dovetails quite nicely into how you're helping people to feel safe in the work that you're doing now. So talk to me about why is winter, but because you related it. I love the way you related it to winter driving.
Well, I really enjoy having a little bit of an adrenaline rush. And I think it's probably born out of unhealthy habit from childhood of, when you're put into circumstances that scare you, but you're told to be brave because that's your job. I think you develop a little bit of a need for that adrenaline hit, or at
Yeah.
least my healing has now shown that to me where I'm like, oh, I may not be jumping out of airplanes, but I do things that would put me at like just a tad of like you're a little nuts. And so winter driving is very much like that for me, especially when conditions are bad,
Yeah.
because I feel like intuitively I can feel the road and the vehicle. I can feel when there's a slight fishtail trying to happen, or you can feel the grab of the weather trying to pull you off
Mhm.
track.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm good at you know, releasing the gas and getting past that grabby spot. And I love it because it's all a danger in a way. Nobody wants
Mm,
to spin out or crash or
yeah.
any of that.
No.
Um, but the repercussions are the next day is, I ended up feeling like I was in an accident because my body
Yeah.
was so like, oh my gosh, we have to survive this.
Yeah.
And what was interesting to me is while I was driving, I thought I was having a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I also, it's funny. I also do like that kind of driving myself. And I like, I think part of that, Rachel, is when you're working with someone, I think it's that same intuitive sense that you had when people are on the table, when you're doing the winter driving, and then when you're working with someone. It's that same sense of, I'm looking forward to getting in here. We're going to go over some bumpy things. There's going to be some grabby bits. There's going to be some stuff that but
Yes.
being able to be fully present for that person to help them feel fully safe and heard. I mean,
Right.
I don't think we talk enough about the therapeutic effect of simply being heard.
Absolutely.
Right? And understood. Like, I
And
think that's
that's,
probably the biggest thing, right? I'm being understood. Finally, go ahead.
yes. No, that's the biggest takeaway from my massage profession. I mean, we were taught right in school to just zip it, right? The highest state of healing is silence, according to our education.
Mm,
But in today's society, there are so many people who just aren't heard.
yeah.
And on top of that, have very little time to be heard.
Yeah.
And so I used to get like, you know, tense when my client wanted to chit chat away. And I'd be like, they're not going to allow their healing in.
Yeah. Sure.
And I started realizing as I'm working, they are healing. That's their healing. They're they're laying it all out there. They're they're processing.
Right.
Some people talk when they process. They can't do it in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think exactly to your point, we live in a society where I think if most people were just confronted with a person who is like, tell me about you.
Yeah.
How are you really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'd have a much happier society,
We would.
personally.
We would. But you know how many people would have such a hard, like they just actually being seen at that level
Right,
and being heard and like, hey, you're allowed to take up space. You
right,
know what I mean? Just
right,
allowing that. We'd have a lot less people trying to do terrible things in the world. I can tell you that if you if people were
right.
just right.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, and so I think that to relate that, I mean, talk a little bit about because I know you have some programs that you do that are really right for somebody who's dealing with really a lot of different things because you've been trained on being able to sort of decipher. It kind of doesn't matter what the disease is; it's kind of what the symptoms and the timing are. But talk
correct.
to me about the kinds of things that, because you've got a couple of things you're doing. You've got an 8-week program, I know, and you've got, is it a one session as well that you can come in and kind of get something if they need something really impactful quickly as well. So talk to me about that.
Yes, I have. Oops, I'm sorry, my boy is going off right now.
Aw, cutie.
Um, yes.
She has a really cute little guy, little dog.
Sorry. A package just got dropped off. How
Aw.
inconvenient for right now. But yes, I do. I have a triumphant transformation. It's an 8-week working on your top 3 issues, really. And I love it. We get really in the muck, as I call it, and find out what's going on and work right through that. It's
Really
very,
quickly, right? Really, I mean,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I should speak to that too. Like, it's my personal philosophy, and it always has been, even as a licensed massage therapist. I was taught when I was doing my internship that, we were taught like how to make sure a client comes back to us or something like
Mm,
that. And I just figured I don't need to concern myself with that.
yeah.
I don't want a following.
Yeah,
I
right. I
don't want to be
agree.
a guru.
You're right.
I mean, if you want to come back, great.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that anybody, regardless of any situation going on in their life, I feel it's more important for me to like, like the biblical saying of it's better to teach a man to fish.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel personally that you have the power within you to heal you. You just forgot it. And I
Yeah.
want you
Or
to
nobody
come
taught it
in.
to you, you know?
Correct.
Right.
And I want you to come in and I want you to have what you need. And I'm happy to teach you or talk to you about it. And then I want you to go live your best life.
Yeah.
If you return to me and find me beneficial and want to continue in different ways or capacities, that's great. But I'm not there to be your forever
Yep.
person.
Yep.
And I don't think in this day and age, like I would seek me out as a high achieving a professional because I did talk therapy. I did the things that might put me in touch with certain things. And while I found that super beneficial
Yeah.
in its own way, I sometimes have asked professionals outside of my work with them, like how come you just didn't tell me this? Like I I think of like how much faster I would have gone through healing
Yeah.
if you just said, well, it's this.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go there. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially as a high
Yeah.
achiever, because I just want to keep her moving.
Yeah.
Let's go. I don't want
Right.
to spend years figuring out
Right.
the way. Let's
Right.
get to the root.
Yeah. As you know, Rachel, that is how I literally grew every single thing because I don't like wasted time. And I
Correct.
want to be able to like, let's go. Let's go right to where you need it. Let's work there. And I
Exactly.
agree with you wholeheartedly. I could not even agree with you any further. Like I want to teach people how to lead themselves. I don't want
Correct.
I drove my when I was over in Romania on a book tour, I drove my publisher over there crazy because she's like, "Well, you're a leader who doesn't want followers." I said, "Yeah." That's
Yeah.
right. I'm a leader who wants to teach people to lead themselves. Like I don't
Correct.
right? And it's the same
Yes.
thing for you. I feel like that's one of your real gifts, honestly, Rachel, is being able to go, hey, come in. I'm going to go right. We're going to pinpoint. We're going right in. And I mean, I think you just started working with somebody, a new client on Wednesday. We were talking about it. And you said that she had been to a lot of over 20 years or something of, lots of
Correct.
things. Therapy, again, all of those things are super great, but that you were almost immediately able to go, hey, we need to go right here and start working
Correct.
there. Right.
Correct.
And it's awesome.
It's wonderful when
Right.
you can show a person things that they hadn't even thought of
Yeah.
as, a possible source.
Yeah.
And then the emotionality that shifts into that space. I just kind of see it as I'm a doula of sorts. I'm holding space for you to give birth to your healing, and you
Yep.
have the power for that. I'm just there to be encouraging,
Yeah.
help you get there as fast as you can or
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
in a safe space.
Yeah.
And, there isn't much in life I haven't heard or seen. I, you can't shock me. I
Yeah.
love all people.
Yeah.
I have no problem with people. I can talk to anybody. So,
Yeah. Right.
I would love to connect and show you quickly what you need to look at.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then take it to your medical professional and go, I think this might be the route. How do we go here? Or take it to your mental health therapist and say,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had these issues around shame.
Yeah.
Take it there for whatever,
Right.
take it wherever you want.
I think that's such an important thing because I love to emphasize that in the work that we do, we work with and dovetail with people's medical teams
Yes.
all the time or therapy teams all the time. And that ability, and we have like Liz who's over in Ireland, and she's a certified nurse and works in as a social worker over there. So we dovetail with those things, and to be
Absolutely.
able to show something quickly and be able to get somebody, hey, you have this core issue and I'm going to work on it, but now you can also take it here and here and here if you need to, and let's get it. Let's attack it from all angles. Let's heal this as fast as we can. Just that
Yep.
roadmap, that blueprint is such a valuable thing. I know we're just on the end of time. However, Rachel, one thing I want to make sure that everybody hears is that, as we work together, one of the things that became very apparent to me is that you are the person who can work with these really high achieving people and be able to get right in, move them through things quickly, but without, again, because the fibromyalgia is trying to push through stuff. Instead, like we were just talking about, hearing and leaning in the places where you need to lean in, letting things be back so that they can feel safe and comfortable and you can go back around and deal with it again. And I think all of that knowledge that you have and all of that training that you have now is of just enormous benefit to anybody who comes and finds you. So
Thank
um,
you.
I just want to thank you so much for being here. I'll have you back on sometime soon
That'd be wonderful.
to talk about more of fibromyalgia. I
Sure.
think we can have a whole big discussion as well on chronic fatigue or even chronic pain, because I think, you've seen tons and tons of that and they all sort of go hand in hand, I feel like. So for anybody who is watching or listening to this, please make sure to check out Rachel. Rachel, can you give us, it's therachelmack.com is your
Yep.
website. Really
Yes, it
lovely
is.
website. And then at the.rachel.mac on Instagram, right?
Correct.
Okay, and
Yes.
those are also in our caption today. So you can go find her, send her a note, connect with her. If you're listening to this and you're just like, you know what, I've been dealing with this for so long and I'm hearing, yes, I am feeling exhausted. I am pulled apart at the seams. I have been carrying too much stuff for too long. And I think I could use some answers. This is a beautiful person to seek out. So thank you so much, Rachel, for being here. Thank you, everybody who is listening and engaging in this. If you're interested in becoming certified like Rachel as a flow method and body decode practitioner, I would be delighted to talk to you. Feel free to reach out. You can check out my stuff. It's also linked below. And for everybody out there, I just wish you the biggest, fullest, most happy day filled with health and healing. And I will see you next time. Rachel, have a beautiful day
Thank
and
you.
go
Thank
do
you.
the amazing work that you're doing. All right. Bye.